Hi, I'm Ellie McGuire, the host of the Shaking the Bushes podcast. Today's guest is brilliant. He's a millennial, and I'm a baby boomer, and we actually get along. And he's teaching me about technology. He's teaching me about video games, and he's also going to let us know if AI is going to take over the world. Stay tuned. Aaron Colaiacomo, I am so honored and thrilled to have you here at the kitchen table of my childhood home. You've been in here many times.
Good number.
Well, let me just start off by saying you were my birthday gift. Do you remember that?
Yes.
How many years ago? I think
About 8 at this point.
I almost think we're going teetering on 10.
9, maybe
yeah,
10.
maybe 10. And so to explain to all the shakers, the listeners out there, I am quite technologically limited. Is that a good way to say it?
Sure.
And so my significant other, my forever fiance, Ron, he decided for my birthday that he was going to give me the gift of technology. So from what I understand, he was smiling and dialing. I think he called the New England Tech School or something like that. And they gave him the university, the College of Providence College. And somehow got to you because you work at Providence College, right?
Yeah. It was at the time I was actually working at Sylvan, and it was a tutoring center. And so that's the original connection. Was I was a tutor for math, and that's when someone gave them, well, if you're looking for tech tutoring, well, here's the tutoring center, so you might as well, reach out. And then that's when my boss was like, you work at Providence and you do technology there. So
well, yeah. So good thing that you were still working for Sylvan, because if you were in Providence College, you'd be way up there and would never even have known about little Ellie McGuire's insecurities about technology. So we hooked up and Ron said, happy birthday. And this man walked in and I thought, I hope you're not a prostitute.
Right.
I hope you're not going to start dancing to me. I've had that happen at times. And you came in and
nice.
and you came in and I had my first lesson. He was brilliant. And here's the thing though. Not only are you brilliant, and I will slob all over you, but you also were so kind and nice and generous with your time and with your knowledge. And you didn't belittle me, and you made me feel like, wow, I have a hope. And then I find out you moved to Providence College, and isn't your job now to deal with the Ellies of the world who are also limited in their technology?
Yeah, so a big part of my job is helping the faculty member at Providence integrate technology within their teaching and learning. And so a lot of what I do is helping them with our learning management systems, our technologies that are on campus, and teaching them. So it is working with people that are, sometimes technologically impaired or, just have not a limited experience with technology, we'll say.
You look up the word technologically impaired and my name is underneath it. But actually, I'm pretty good, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Because let's face it, I am in my 7th decade. I think you knew me in my 6th decade or whatever. And you were so kind. So you've known me 10 years. You haven't ditched me yet. And I have a podcast now. So yeah. I think that's fantastic. Like I just read about Dick Van Dyke. He's turning 100. Not that I'm 100, folks, but he's turning 100. And he says one of the things that keeps him young is always being open to new situations. So I'm not going to sit around and hang out and just, be a couch potato and watch reruns of I Love Lucy or something. I'm going to keep going forward. And I've never stopped, as you know, in the 10 years you've known me. So here I am with a podcast at my kitchen table in my childhood home. Kind of kitschy, don't you think?
It's nice.
Got the signage and everything. So, I have had my experiences. So you come in, of course, we won't go into my computer, which probably is 20 years old right now.
I was going to say, it's the same computer from when we started, right? When we met, right? Yeah. Okay. Just making sure. Yeah. That one.
Yeah. And now when I turn it on, it has a little noise, and you said, "Oops, that's the motor." So, well, we're just going to keep going till it,
Yeah.
I'm all about saving. I'm all about old school. I really have to say. And I think that's the beauty. In fact, I just realized as I put this sweater on, I have a blue sweater on, button down sweater for those of you listening, that I realized I had done 3 TV pilots. Like, I didn't want to get in line and be an actress because the story goes, if someone could be great actor, but their nose didn't go with the leading man's nose, so they get thrown out and somebody else comes in. It's all of chance of, luck, chance, whatever. And I was determined to not be in that line. So I came up with 3 different TV pilots. And I won't go into them right now. We'll go through that some other time. But the bottom line is, I just realized one of the demos I did was in this sweater. And I was living in LA in 1990s. So this sweater is 30 years old. So I'm into old school. What can I?
Nice.
But if you do buy nicely, you don't have to throw them in a landfill. That's all I'm saying. So Aaron, back to old school, new school. The thing that just blows me away about you is not only do you help people, and are there young people who you tutor as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's any of the professors that come into PC. So it is, individuals that are just getting out of their doctorates. And most people, it takes about, you have your 4 years of your undergrad, and then you have like another 4 to 6 years afterwards of doing a doctorate. So even if it's someone coming in at the youngest possible, they would be around 32, 34. In terms of most of the professors that I can think of, most of them are in their late 30s.
Really?
Yeah, the ones that are coming in that are brand new, that are young, they're in their late 30s. A lot of the professors that we end up getting, I would say, are probably a bit older than that. But the ones that are brand fresh out, this is their first.
Right.
Because a lot of colleges, and people don't realize that, are mostly run by adjuncts and contracted positions. So a lot of colleges actually have professors where they have a 6-year contract. And a college will do that to give a professor or someone, a PhD student, their first experience.
Wow.
So that's kind of like their entry level experience. They get their first job, and then they can go work at any university.
And they've had experience.
Hey, I've had a job for 6 years. Here's my teaching acumen. Here's something around this. If you have an opening in whatever, degree in whatever field you're teaching, at least they have experience now. And so a lot of the faculty members, they call them visiting faculty members. And so they get a 6-year contract. They're there for that amount of time. And then we're either going to put you on a 10-year track if we have a position open, or bye-bye, another 6-year, come in.
Nothing is easy, though.
No.
But I would think you have tenured people, kind of like all the movies like Good Will Hunting and all these movies where people still wear suede patches on their elbows, don't they? And, the tenured professors. And those are the ones probably a little bit more like me who need some help.
Those are the ones that I see more. Are the ones
that was
that have
very kindly said.
been there a while.
Okay, so now we're onto technology. I think, hey, listen, I actually downloaded. Do you download or upload?
Download.
I downloaded all my podcasts onto Acast, my host, so that they're in Spotify and all that stuff. And I did it all myself. I mean, come on. I'm patting myself on the back for all of you who are just listening. Okay, so I'm very proud of that. And I am very sponge-like. I do want to learn. And now here I am doing a podcast, but here I am. So after this podcast, I hope you'll help me just figure out all the pieces to all these podcasts and put them all together so we can launch them. And, but one of the things that really blew me away since I had seen you last was the fact that you're a video gamer.
Yes.
I mean, this is a world, I would say NASCAR and video games are a world that I have no clue about whatsoever. And then, so tell them you work with a college and you have students.
Yep.
And these students are video gamers.
Yep.
And it's actually a sport.
Yeah, so they face other colleges. They play as teams in other colleges. We have a ton of different games. It's over 20 titles that we compete in at this point. So it's just like traditional athletics where you would have soccer, football, basketball. We have League of Legends, Super Smash Brothers, and Valorant. And, the students,
That's a song in the making.
I know, that's nice ring, right?
Yeah.
But the students, they end up playing against other schools. They will end up, sitting on their computers, and then they'll connect with the other school sitting on their computers in Texas, California, South Carolina, and they'll play versus each other. And then typically, there is some sort of event. So we are traveling to Akron, Ohio, end of this week of when we're shooting this. So we'll be actually traveling over there for one of our championships. So
and let's explain, because we're talking. I love this old school, new school. Old school me. I used to work at an arena where the NBA team in Washington D.C., the then Bullets, and the Capitals hockey. I worked with them, and there was action on the court, and people cheered, and you bought popcorn and you bought beers, and you went home after a game you either won or lost. How the hell do people? So they go to an arena,
Yep.
and they have kids. Are they on the arena floor where the basketball players would be?
Yeah, so it is kind of a funny concept, but a lot of the times, you are watching from home because a lot of the games can be played from home. I think that was actually one of the reasons that it really thrived during COVID, is that you couldn't have contact sports. You couldn't have those sports that people were face to face with. We saw the football seasons, NFL, basketball, all of them get canceled. And then eventually you end up having these take off because you don't got to be face to face with anybody. We don't necessarily need to be in person. It's a good experience for the students, but they don't need to be in person. And so I actually went to the semifinals of the World Championships for League of Legends back in 2016. It was actually held at Madison Square Garden.
No way. Wait, so it's an arena. People pay money.
It was Madison Square Garden. So they set it up just like they would from a boxing arena.
Okay.
So in terms of the extra seating on the floor, rather than because they do hockey at Madison Square. Maybe?
Oh my God! Of course they do. I
okay,
traveled there
just making
so many
sure,
times.
right? It's
hockey, basketball, Billy Joel.
I know they do basketball, and I know they do concerts.
I think they do soccer there too.
Right, and because they had the concert set up, because I actually went the year before for just the North American finals.
Right.
And that was the concert setup because it was a smaller.
Right.
They
it's
didn't
kind of
know
an
how
egg
many
shape if you think about it that way.
And they had like the stage there, and then they had the screen in the back, so you would actually see the people playing.
So the screen would be where the hoops would be, maybe normally.
Yeah. So sorry, this is when you have the like Billy Joel, the stadium style.
Oh, okay.
Right, where you would have like
So it's
screen there.
So it's more like a stage versus them sitting in the arena themselves.
So that was the North American finals.
Got it.
Now the World Finals, they had the whole thing, and it was full sold out both days that were there because it was the semifinals. Because you had one team and then you had another team, full sold out both days, and they put it up on the jumbotron. So you would have it on all four angles, all four sides.
Okay. Do people like kiss on the jumbotron at
No,
these things?
they don't have like the intermissions of that. I think they probably
Are people having affairs while they're watching the video game?
Right. Maybe, who knows at that point. But I mean, that was also 9 years ago. I actually haven't gone to a professional event since then. And I'm sure that they've gotten even more technological. They probably have actually moved towards having, either trivia bits or having a kiss cam in between.
Because it's all about the audience as well.
Right.
They paid money. So just go rewind for 1 second, Aaron. People pay money, maybe the parents and the kids, or the kids. What age group are we talking about? Probably.
Yeah, 18 to 30.
Okay, so I was in radio too, so that's a really soft, sweet spot. But anyway, 1830, they pay money. What does a ticket go for? Like, do they?
So I know that mine was set. They sold them on the site, and my seat, which was like a middle bowl, was 75, and then I had to do on the resale, and that was the one because they all sold out so quickly, and I think it was like $85.
$85 to get your seat, get your little butt in a seat to sit and watch people play video games on their computers.
Yeah.
And those computers show up on the screens?
Yep. So they've done a lot more with the technology too, where they have the teams and they would have them in the center. They would have them on the other sides of the arenas with the 5 computers. What's nice is when they did the stage setup is they actually had like the individual players POV.
Yep, point of view,
field of view, whatever you want, FOV, POV, whatever you wanted to call it. And what they would do is you would actually be able to watch if you wanted to, if you had a favorite player or a player that you followed, you could just watch specifically their screen or what's going on in the big screen on the top.
This is fascinating to me. So basically, instead of seeing in my day, Michael Jordan. By the way, I think we figured out once Michael Jordan was playing against the Bullets, who always sucked. Sorry, Bullets. They're now the Wizards. But anyway, Michael Jordan, I think every minute made $60,000 or something crazy like that in the game. It was a crazy, crazy number. Yep. But instead of seeing guys throwing balls and hoops or whatever is going on, it's really more of a chess match because to me, watching chess, but video games. So what is the excitement of watching someone else? You're not even a participant.
So there's a lot of action that's going on more than like a chess match, where a chess match would be, you know, a little bit slower and everything, but there's still the nuance of kind of watching it. I would almost equate it to having a regular person kind of watch a football match versus a previous quarterback watch a football match. So like Tony Romo is a really good example. He ended up doing his casting debut in like 2017. And there was a point that in the playoff game of the Patriots, and I can't remember the other team at the time, but it was the Patriots in the playoff game in the first round. He called 13 plays in a row correctly. Exactly what the Patriots would do 13 times in a row. Yep, exactly 13 times. And no one had ever done that. No other commentator had ever done that. And it was just because he had like a deeper understanding and a deep understanding of what's going on in the game. And so when you have a parent that is typically watching their student that are playing these games, it's a fireworks show. It's a bunch of colorful lights, things happening, a bunch of things happening. And there's not much that the parent doesn't really understand. But from the student's perspective, they can see that the person actually planned something out, or they saw that, you know, something was happening within the game that not a lot of other people would see, be able to react to it, be able to have that reaction time and understanding of thinking ahead of, okay, if I do this, what are they going to do in response?
What are the consequences?
What are the consequences in that rolling?
So do they, sometimes baseball, I always remember, you know, people with they had pads and they kept score and they followed closely and everything. Is there anything that is interactive for the audience themselves?
Tons of things. So
of course.
back then there really wasn't a lot when I went in, and I say back then, like, you know,
back
9 years ago wasn't
so what
a long
are you?
time.
I'm a baby boomer, but what are you?
I am a millennial.
You're a millennial. So back then when I was a millennial.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
But
I'm sorry, I had to make fun of you for a minute.
One of the fun things, they would do a lot of giveaways. So they actually had these like stress balls that were in different shapes of things from within the game. So there was like a player, one of the characters has like a giant barrel that he throws around, and you could have the little barrel. One character had like an orange, and that's a fun joke. One character had a little bomb, and they were these stress balls, and you could actually collect, and they would just throw them out into the audience like a t-shirt cannon.
Oh yeah, cannon. Yeah. Right? And beach balls in a Beach Boy concert or something like that. I have to relate it. It's so wonderful. I have to relate it from my point of view, and you relate it to your point of view, and the two can meet. And that's what I love about life and why I love sitting here. I mean, I've interviewed a woman who's 92 and she's giving out her life experiences. And I mean, she just broke her back getting hit by a car and she's out to Disney World, you know, I mean, crazy stuff. So life, I don't think at any age we have all the answers or we are finished in life, you know? So there's all that. So it's very hard for my little mind to figure out watching video games, and probably because I don't play video games. So, you know, I mean, like when you had that reaction about basketball, do they play basketball in Madison Square Garden? Well, that was kind of telling.
Hockey.
Oh, hockey.
I know they do basketball because of Providence plays there.
Oh, okay.
Because Providence, the Big East tournament.
And the Big East tournament. I used to work
I've been to Madison Square a lot.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's right. Yep. And the Friars. Well, I remember Marvin Bonds in my day. And Greg Gregorio, was it Ed Gregorio?
Ed Gregorio, yeah.
So those are my days of Providence College.
D. Gregorio,
right.
That's the one.
Right. Oh, I mean, stories. It'd be great stories. Providence College has always had a great basketball team. So, and they do have a good hockey team, et cetera, et cetera. But
national championships.
So back to the video games, because I find this fascinating. And do you see, folks, I may be a certain age, but I am willing to learn. And my question to you about video games, I just had it. Now I'm going to show you my senior moment because I forgot what my question was. Video games. Do the colleges benefit from having people play video games? It doesn't seem like a collegiate thing. So,
of course. So a big thing from our side is obviously the enrollment, having more students, means that you get more funding, means that you can do more, means that you can grow as a college, especially with a lot of people talking about an enrollment cliff because there's been a birth decline, all of this other stuff, and people terrified that over 1,000 colleges are supposed to close over the next 5 years.
Really?
Yep. 1,000
Because of the birth decline?
Just because of birth decline, less people going to college, less people
and it
being
is
able
pretty
to
expensive
afford.
too. Yeah.
It's extremely expensive, making other life choices. So there's been this whole huge decline of, especially within the normal, like Northeast, where we are, that is supposed to see the largest decline, mostly because those are probably the most expensive ones.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yep. And so enrollment, huge boon. That's what a lot of colleges obviously look for. Other than that, it's engaging an audience that they might not already be engaging. Colleges have always done a really good job at catering to the sports person. You want a good basketball team, go to Providence College and you can go root on a great basketball team.
Correct.
That's a lot of my friends that went to PC. That was the reason they chose PC.
Totally.
And that makes sense.
Yep.
You want a good hockey team, Providence. You want a good, football team, you go to Alabama, right? You go to those different schools. You're now engaging another audience that says, well, if I want to go and, root on a League of Legends team or an Overwatch team, I can go to that school. But also at the same time, you're having an audience that there's clubs in colleges where those students might not be engaged in any of the clubs that you currently offer, but something like that would engage a student.
Wow. So video games is a big deal, and having those kids gives you a whole new group of that wasn't there before, maybe. And the parents are supportive of that too.
Sometimes it's usually a 50-50 where, the parents still have those dichotomies of, oh, he's just going to spend all day in the arena, not go to class, not learn anything. And you have the students that do that. You have some students at schools that do that. We have somebody who's actually retention and success. So it's somebody that we actually hired. Her entire job is to make sure that they're not just doing that they're going to class, that their grades are good, that,
what did you call it?
Retention and success.
Yeah, because kids today, it seems, listen to me, kids today, oh my God, I hate that saying. It was said to me and now I'm doing it. But kids say the retention level, because everything is tick tock, tick tock, tick, is so that's her thing, is to help learn in class and everything. Well, funny you should say that. I have an example of that. Ron and I, like I said, in the 90s, moved to LA, did a bunch of stuff, crazy people that we are. But the first week there, and I'm a New Englander, I know, winter, summer, spring, fall. And it was October and we were free for some reason. We went down to Laguna Beach, and there's a movie theater across the street, and on the other side is the beach. And it's a Tuesday at, like, say, 1 p.m, when I would think of myself being in school. You got to go to school and you got to do. It's sunny out and there's all these bikini bodies and good looking guys playing volleyball. And I'm like, playing volleyball on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock? That didn't work with my New England sensibility. And then I thought to myself, but wait a minute. Nowadays, the Olympics, there's so many other things. If you're really good at something and it's volleyball, you can make a living at that. And they're a team. So my little pea brain, I've said that twice now, has expanded to know that these niches that we weren't growing up doing, and if you think we're bad, our parents were saying, you could say, oh, I'm going to be Ron was a fabulous pianist. Well, what are you doing that for? You need a real job. Oh, okay. They came out of probably depression and World War II thinking you got to go and you got to be an accountant or something that they understood. So I'm probably doing that to you, going, video games? You're kidding me. What school do you do? Your
Fisher College.
So now what is your official capacity there at Fisher College? That's in Boston, right?
Yep.
You are you considered a professor there? Or?
I'm a director of esports.
So you're a director. And I think the last time you were here, you showed me pictures of a studio. So they have play-by-play too, right?
Yep. So we actually have a whole production studio with production students that they end up putting on the cast for one of the leagues that we actually play in. And so they have individuals that are talking over the games to give that play-by-play to be the Tony Romos, right? Of the, maybe not current Tony Romo, but old Tony Romo.
Yeah.
in in the casting booth. But also you have somebody who is behind the camera doing the producing, doing the mics, making sure that the sound quality is coming in, also making sure that they go between the individual cameras of looking at the game by game and then the casting.
It's
So there's
just amazing.
a lot that goes into it, that can go into it.
I used to work in sports radio. After I worked for an arena and the sports teams, I also worked with the Redskins football, but in sports radio. And I'm thinking now, like Tony Kornheiser was a big sports columnist and actually a humorist too. Pain in the, I won't say it. But anyway, and so they'd be in the studios.
Yeah.
And I was selling advertising and, doing promotions and going helping clients do things, blah, 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 blah. But now I'm thinking, my God, there could be a radio station that could have video gamers in the studios, and they'd be like, "Oh, so what's happening today?" "Well, did you see that kid?" Da, 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 da. I mean, everybody's got something to say about something. All right, now here's my other question, because I've known you for, what did we almost say, a decade? And I'm thinking of video games, and I'm thinking of like the Michelle Obamas of the world, or the people trying to get kids off their duffs so that they're exercising and doing things and stuff. Video games doesn't really kind of fit into that. So is there also a push that they have to keep active as well, or?
A lot of them do naturally, which is kind of interesting. We do have, you kind of see a lot of the two extremes. At least that's what I've seen within the students that I talk with, where there are those students that are super fit, that they recognize, hey, if I'm going to be sitting in my computer for 6-8 hours a day, I need to move.
Yes.
Right. I need to move. I need to get up. I need to stretch. I need to get the blood flowing. I need to go to the gym. Right. And then I have the other students that are like, oh, well, I'm already here 8 hours. I might as well just, relax and do whatever. Right.
They say sitting is the new smoking.
Right.
Yeah.
There is that piece of being dormant, not doing a lot of activity that we have had to fight with. We don't have a requirement within our program to kind of do that. I know that there are other programs that have pushed for something like that, but it's hard. You kind of have to
It is hard. There's only so much time in a day.
And they're technically adults. I always call them kids, and they know that. I have 300 kids, right? And I like to say that.
College kids.
College kids, right?
You have 300 kids?
300 students.
300 video games. And now, did you help to get those 300 to go to Fisher College?
Yep, the majority of them.
Cha-ching. So, that's nice. You must be held in high esteem.
The college has definitely noted that it's been a very successful program, going from, their enrollment normally is 2,000. We're around 2,000 students total. Right. So we're 300 students of 2,000.
Wow, that's a nice percentage point there.
Which is great.
So now, is there a specific area of where these games happen? Is it after school program? Is it an after school program?
Yeah, it's traditional athletics. So a lot of my students, right, they're going to have classes in the morning. They're going to go from 8:30 till about 3, lunch sometime in between. Then from about 3 until 6, they'll do homework, have dinner at around 6. And then from 7 afterwards, they're either playing, they're VOD reviewing, which is video on demand. So they're watching tape, right?
So they're learning. So it's almost like the coach going, all right, here's the plays from the last game.
Yep.
Good Lord almighty. So they're doing video games and then they're going over the video games.
Mm-hmm.
Just shoot me and get it over with. It just boggles my mind, but I'm not making fun of it, folks. But still, it's just crazy.
And there's games that require a little bit more review of strategy than others. So you have League of Legends, Overwatch, and Valorant. They all have somewhere between... Oh, yeah, of course.
Of course. I knew that League of Legends.
Yeah. They have 30... Valorant has like 30 something characters. Overwatch has like 40 something characters. And then League of Legends has 180 characters, which is obscene. And every single one of those characters does something different.
And so that's a strategy?
And that's a strategy of, you need to know what those characters do. And you can say, okay, well, this person on the other team likes playing this character. Well, Garen is one of the characters. If he likes playing Garen, there might be a character such as Vayne that counters it. So
Vayne, yeah, of course.
Yep. So of course, if you know that they're going to play that character, you either need to be ready with a counter pick, or there is a phase that there's like a banning phase where you can remove specific characters from a game, from a match. And so that's
the Voice does that on TV. They remove singers from the thing. Okay.
Fine. So you have that type of strategy. So that's a pretty, again, getting a little bit deep into it, I know.
No, I love this. I love this because you know what I'm hearing? Because I went to Rhode Island College. I did get into Providence College, but I thought, well, I've done enough Catholic school stuff, so I went to the whatever. But in teaching, I'm hearing a lot of stuff that really prepares you for other areas of life too. Because if you're predicting something, that's going to happen, that's all strategy. That's math. That goes into so many different subjects.
There's a lot of math in these games.
Well, that's why I'm not a video gamer.
So much math that comes into knowing how much damage is done, how much damage you can do with specific abilities, and what maximizes particular damage with some of these.
Well, my nuns, they damaged my mathematical abilities. So
nice.
There should be a nun. Do they have a nun video game?
No.
Slap. No math for you. They used to get, here's my math thing. Kathy Czar, she's brilliant. She was brilliant. And so I had like a woman that I had to walk to the convent every day. That's how old she was because she needed help. I was her helper. And she'd say, okay, we're doing fractions today. And Kathy, would you go up and show us an example? Basically, Kathy Czar taught sixth grade math.
I had a nun teacher in high school.
Yeah.
Still. So
but math. But makes sense because if you've got a group of women who are really good in English and really good at dividing sentences and doing all that, that's what they're going to excel at teaching you. But if they're not good at math, then you're not going to, and it passes down, and all the women are math. I don't know. So don't get me started. But so back to the video games, I think that there's a lot of life experiences that can go into this. Mm-hmm. And speaking of life experiences, I think there's probably a couple of years because, as you know, we also live in New York City. We live in the biggest city and the smallest state. It's so much fun. And so I periodically go away for a while, and then I see you again. Now I see you. This is I called up because now I'm doing a podcast. I want to get more into social media, blah, blah, blah. And speaking of social media, you will be able to watch this on YouTube, shakingthebushes.com. Let me put that plug in there. Okay, so my thing is, since I've seen you last, you lost a ton of weight, and excuse the expression ton, but you lost a lot of weight, and you're a video gamer. So what was the transformation there?
I mean, a big thing for me was recognizing that I was spending too much time on the games and too much time kind of dedicating myself to work and too much time just my come to Jesus moment, if you will, to go back to the nuns.
Okay.
was more of I got home and I sat down and I had about 20 minutes before I had to go into the next thing and start working on the next thing. And I wasn't really delegating a lot of the work. So I was doing a lot of it myself, and I DoorDashed McDonald's, and I had like a large Coke or something like that. Like I got like this meal from McDonald's and everything. And it came to my door, and then I'm realizing I just paid like $4 for this to get delivered. The McDonald's is walking distance from my house.
Oh my gosh. So you DoorDashed.
And I DoorDashed it, and it's less than a mile and a half from my house. And that was one of my big moments. Another big moment was I also had like a 2-liter of Coke sitting there, and I had the whole thing before the night ended. And I was like, this is not healthy. This is not healthy anymore. Let me, figure this out, do a life change. So I ended up, I was actually traveling on a trip afterwards. I had to get ready, went with the trip and everything. And on that trip, the person I was rooming with, he was like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. Do you want to come with me? And I said, sure. And then I walked on the treadmill, had that like running high afterwards. And I was like, all right, how do I do this? And that's what I did. So,
wow. And so you walk into my life again, you walk into this exact kitchen, and we go to work on my 20-year-old computer, and you're going to give me some life lessons, and you look fantastic. Not that you weren't adorable before, but it was a different adorable. And then this gal that I knew when we were doing the Schmitty the Weather Dog science sing-along show with my forever fiance, Ron, Mariah, who used to help us sometimes when we did shows in schools in Rhode Island. You got married and you lost weight, and now you're a runner. Holy moly, talk about the transformation. So that gives me hope about people who do video games and spend lots of time, because I think that even there's anything with a lot of balance. I know runners who are maniacs at running. And so that can be an extreme. Like, we can take a lot of things to extreme.
Absolutely.
So video games, I think kids just, I think that there's an after school program of you telling them your story so that they go to the gym and get on that treadmill, because there is a really cool high after a run.
It is. It is. I didn't really think that was a real thing until I was like, okay, this is actually quite nice. So
Yeah.
And had that experience of like, okay, how do I feel great. I feel really good after moving. How do I keep feeling good? And then I actually reached out to 2 of my students, and that was my big thing of, hey, I know that both of you are very heavily into bodybuilding. They're a little bit on that extreme. What do I do?
Wow.
Coach me through, right? And I took them out to a very nice dinner in December after they helped me in like 6 months at that point, and I took them to Fogo de Chao. I don't know if you've ever.
So in
gone.
other words, after the bodybuilding, you give them food.
Yeah, well,
no, I'm kidding. You took them to where?
Fogo de Chao. It's a Brazilian steakhouse.
Nice.
So that was like
you are
my
just
big thank
so
you.
hip. I mean, I feel like I knew you when you were the kid, and now you're the adult, and now you have a house near here, and you're like. You're just moving on up, moving on up. Oh my God. There's so many things that I want to ask you about even more. And so maybe you could be my resident technology person and come on sometimes and help me out. But I think the moral of the story here, if there ever is one, is that at my tender age and your tender age, the two can meet. And I find that if you stop learning, then, forget about it. You do age. So I love having you over because I love that smile because I have now people don't even write anymore, right? They don't do penmanship.
Not much.
So how does a kid become a celebrity and give autographs? That's my question.
I mean, they have to learn how to sign their name, right? Like, but
yeah, I know. But anyway, but I love when you come in and you sit down and you hear the little whir of my engine and my computer, and you're probably like, oh my. And then I pull out I have a notebook, right? And I have probably 10 pages of passwords. How does anybody remember passwords? So I have them all there, and then I cross them out when somebody's changed one or something's happened. And you'll say, okay, Ellie, so we need to go into your Apple account, and it might take me about 5 minutes to find the page. And he's like, but that's what I love about you, Aaron, is that you're so patient and kind about that. So you kind of have an old soul. Has anyone ever told you that?
I think so. Yeah, I've been told that a couple of times.
Yeah. So you're just adorable. But you balance all of this. And now, how many people do you know that actually work for 2 different colleges too?
Not many.
So that's kind of crazy. And then Mariah and you, and she works for the airlines or something, right? So I just think that you are the American dream. I mean, you are doing it. And then you also told me about, I think you mentioned crypto, or you do stuff like that too?
Yeah, I do day trading, yeah.
And day trading is a full-time job.
Well, again, it depends on what you're trying to do. But yeah, I even have students that they're interested in finance. So we find the interest of, a lot of these students, and we try and connect with them in different ways. So.
Oh, I know. I remember. I wrote it down. And I had one of those questions like people ask, what do you wish you could tell your 14-year-old self? But forget about that.
Okay.
Because I just saw a segment on a CBS morning show, the Sunday morning show, about AI. And there was this actress, beautiful, and she's doing all this stuff. She's not even real. So what do you think about AI? I mean, you are in it. You are in the thick of it. And I want to hear your side of the story.
It's funny because I'll give you kind of 2 sides.
Okay.
Where I think that AI is incredibly helpful doing a lot of menial tasks that we feel that we have to kind of do. And it's really helpful when you're not going to be able to, you're trying to search something on a search engine and it's just not coming up. And you can typically go to AI and they'll show you some, specific links or some features. However, there is the environmental impact that a lot of people don't actually realize.
The heat from all of the circuits that it takes, like they take over communities, correct?
Not necessarily like take over communities, but also at the same time, some of that, it's more of the amount of materials that we have to mine to make the graphics cards that then, do all of the processing power. The amount of computer processing that we have to do is hurting the environment. That's a huge, issue of its own.
Right.
What I see from the education side is very heavily from that, especially working at a liberal arts college. the students are coming in and just saying, oh, if we're going to be asked the same prompt of what did, Hume write about? What did they mean when, I think, therefore I am? What does that mean? Well, they've been asked that 100 times. The professor may have been asking that for 20 plus years. The student is just going to say, okay, what does he mean? And they're not really going to use that thinking process, that writing process. And so it's caused that tug
Do they
of
just
war.
type that in?
Yeah. I've seen students, they just copy the prompt in and they just post it in, and then they just take the answer and then they post the answer.
So their brains aren't working over that process.
It's not refining the writing process for a lot of those students. Now, there's going to be math problems. There's going to be some of those other problems that when they get into the real world, they're going to have AI. It's similar to when you had
a calculator. That was a big move. Well, even I think my significant other, what's that thing that they use?
Not an abacus, but
a what? A slide rule.
A slide rule.
That's how they figured out. Ron went to Purdue and he was a math major and he had a slide rule. And then I got a calculator, and you couldn't bring into tests in my high school. You couldn't bring in a calculator, and then you couldn't. So can you use AI? And
absolutely. And even I remember when I was in middle school, elementary school, they said you wouldn't have a calculator always with you. You had to learn this math. Well, we have phones now, and we do have a calculator with us all the time. So,
but what if everything? I always did this one. What if the world was wiped out of phones? We had to start from scratch again. No one.
You would have to, and the people that would rise are the people that did well in school, and the people that did well without the calculator.
That's a brilliant thing. So go to school, kids. Yeah, wow. So all right. And my last question. Okay. So AI. Do you think it's like I'm a writer? I wrote my memoir. No. I don't think AI can do a memoir of your life because it doesn't know your life. So you're safe there. I think there are certain places where you're safe, but are there going to be any authors left? Are there going to be any actors left?
I think the majority of our materials probably will eventually come from AI, but people can kind of tell that difference a little bit. We've seen the growth of it too. People have talked about the Coca-Cola Christmas commercial this year. Have you heard about that?
No.
Oh, they used AI to make a large portion of the Coca-Cola Christmas commercial
really?
This year. Yeah. The studio, they claim, didn't necessarily use it, but then they showed like AI prompts making and generating a lot of the materials, a lot of the assets that they had. And so that is our future. Their students are going to use it. From my side, working in colleges, they're going to use it. They're going to use it in their jobs, just like they use Google, just like they use all these other tools that we told them, well, you have to learn how to do it without it. At the same time, they still need to have that understanding of how to associate and how to, look at the information that's being fed to them and kind of dissipate it, as well as, any issues that might come up, any issues within coding, any issues within accounting that might happen. You have accountants that are now using AI.
But do you need humans to stimulate the AI? Like, is it a point where AI is going to take over the humans?
So something called prompt engineering is actually a fast-growing job.
So in other words, coding used to be the fast-growing job.
Yep.
And now that's kind of going out, right?
We overflooded the market.
Oh, okay. Because everybody wanted to be coding.
Yep.
And then, so all right. So if you and Mariah, the sweet Mariah, hello, Mariah, if you and Mariah decide to have kids, what would you tell them not to become, because it's going to be obsolete? What would you think is going to be obsolete?
I don't know necessarily.
Is accountant? Do you need an accountant anymore?
I don't know what would be obsolete, and it's
in video games. Is video games the designers of video games? Do we need them anymore?
Yeah, you would still need game designers. You would still need people that are designing entertainment, and there's a lot of things like sports and that have been around for a year. I don't know if I'd tell them not to do anything. I would be very optimistic and follow your heart kind of thing. I know. What it is.
I think that's such a great note to end on, because I am sitting with one of the most special people in my life, because he helps me stay current. And Aaron, and for you to say your heart, because we're getting so I get worried. I see robots. They're doing robots now. And what if all the robots just decide to gang up and go after all of us and, whatever? Yeah. I get very nervous about that. But that is a wonderful thing to say, because I still believe that you have to have a heart as well as all of this for this world to keep going on. Don't you think?
Absolutely. I'm very pragmatic if that's not apparent at that point. If they wanted to go into something where I'm like, you may want to feed yourself, one of those fields that you want to go into writing. Well, you want to feed, maybe also do business.
You want to start a podcast?
Maybe do some marketing, maybe push them into something that it's, you have that fallback that you can kind of still focus on, but still have that passion. Like I even did, where I didn't go to school for video games. I didn't go to school for technology. I went to school for something that I was passionate about. But afterwards I said, okay, well, I'm good at this, this, and this. What's hiring? Oh, these are hiring.
Good point. I went to school for teaching and I ended up, becoming an advertising executive and working in sports and doing. So maybe that's why I think we can't cancel out older people, because older people have all these building blocks of experiences that just are magic. And so that's what I'm doing. I mean, I've done this and I've done this. I feel like I'm 100 sometimes. Hopefully I don't look it. But anyway, but that's the thing about age, is that we all have experiences, and that is a brilliant. You give me hope, Aaron.
Good.
You give me hope from the heart, Aaron. So I want you to come back, please.
Absolutely.
Oh my God! And thank you for coming to the kitchen table in my childhood home with Shaking the Bushes. Shaking the Bushes podcast. And if you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Oh, and see that little bell there? You could click on that and that will notify you for the next episode of Shaking the Bushes. Okay, I gotta go. And we never had this conversation.